Welcome to Das Geek. I am so excited to bring this video that has been weeks in the work of collaboration with an InfoSec engineer to bring you essential tips to keep your life more private while still, this is the key point, being able to enjoy the technologies and the convenience of those technologies out there. We work to make sure that this guide was something that everyone can implement in their lives. Whether you're not a advanced computer user, you're just kind of a beginner, you're not going to have to learn magical incantations in a terminal or do anything special here. These are basic tips to get you started and hopefully launch your passion for something that really changed my life, understanding how much these companies violate our privacy, how it's not okay, and ways that you can take back control of your privacy through this guide here. So let's get started into the presentation. We got a lot of information to cover, and I think you're going to love it. All right, so let's start getting into this. Again, just real quick, we covered most of this in the intro, so I won't spend a lot of time on this slide. Not 100% foolproof. There's no such thing. You'd have to unplug the internet entirely, take all electronic devices out of your home, and then you might be able to have some privacy, but then you got cameras and everything else anywhere. This is about building a foundation. This is not about giving up, by the way. A lot of people say, oh, it's just, there's too much now. There's no reason to even care. That's absolutely false and not true. I'm not here to try to convince you that privacy matters. If you don't think privacy matters at all, this video is not going to convince you otherwise, although I will cover some topics on the next slide. Just as a reminder for those who are getting into privacy for the first time, why this is so important that we start caring about this. And thankfully, a lot of people in the world are waking up to the violations of their privacy and why this stuff is so important. This is not all inclusive. And there are many things that I'm going to give you here, from tips and tools and little bonuses in each of the slides, to help you start understanding and taking control without having to take major drastic steps in your life or change the enjoyment that you have with technology. All right, let's get on to our next slide here. We're going to talk about, real quickly, again, I'm not here to convince you, does this impact me? Or for people who like to make the argument, this doesn't impact me. Your personal information matters. It has always mattered. That is why the government put laws in place back when they were doing postal service and mail, that people were not allowed to open your mail and understand what's going on, what you're buying, the bills that you have, because this privacy was important to people back then. Somehow along the way, we lost that. We lost that through the generations, through the training in schools. We just stopped caring about privacy. And if the same technology existed back then, with the people back then after world wars and seeing what governments are capable of doing, they would have never allowed it to get this far. But somehow we've become lazy, and hopefully we wake up to that. Our digital lives contain more information than our mail does. That mail that has a law that protects you from having neighbors and things go and open that. Our digital lives, our email and things, is where everything comes now. Our taxes, our bank statements, our purchases, our personal emails to our loved ones, all of that now is usually done completely digital. And that means it deserves to have privacy. And these companies have gone too far. They've overstepped the bounds, and it's caused a major privacy disaster that we have to take back. Popular credit card companies are accused of lowering credit limits of users based on their buying history. So if you think all these companies collecting information on what you purchase doesn't matter, it does. It could literally impact your ability to get credit and things. And that can impact your ability to get a home, to get a car, to get a line of credit to pay off all of those credit cards that you shouldn't be using. Anyways, healthcare providers could decline you future coverage. This is a big one that a lot of people are worried about based on your posts or search history. Maybe you do risky things and you take pictures of it. Very, very possible if not done already. TomTom accused of sending data on areas people sped while traveling. Again, this is just more of these tools and things that have come as part of our lives, having navigation, that are used to collect data on people and utilize it. Services like Facebook, updating terms and conditions, accidentally making user information that was private now public. You think all of those conversations that are now stored indefinitely are private. But something happens, password changes, password gets compromised, terms and conditions update, an update accidentally leaves these things open. Those messages, that information leaves you vulnerable, and people are losing their jobs and livelihoods from this stuff coming out. And the biggest problem is with kids posting these days. So if you have kids out there, kids do stupid things. When I was a kid, I said stupid things, did stupid things that today as an adult, I'm like, cringe. Oh my God, are you serious? But today, these kids' lives are forever cemented online. These companies keep this data indefinitely. This could hurt their ability to get careers, to get hired, to get into the schools they want because they make a simple, stupid kid mistake because these companies are relentless with the data gathering and keeping this information indefinitely. Of course, governments determine through wiretapping, internet searches that you're a potential threat. Right? Well, they love to use that terrorist term on anybody now that has any type of dissidence towards the government. And you could be somebody who gets tagged in the future because you're someone who's talking against the government. This has happened historically. This has happened currently. Other countries, maybe not in the United States yet. Maybe it has. But this is a big problem. This is a big fear thing that the information that you post out there or the information they can gather out there from these devices could be used against you. One example was a reporter doing a report for a murder show that had wife killer and other terms that when looked at without context made people believe he may have been planning to kill his wife. In fact, he was just a reporter. So that's a real case of situations like that happening based on search terms that you're using in your internet browser that's all being gathered. Facebook replaced almost every CIA program to gather data on people because people were posting it publicly for free online. And why do you need to spend all the money storing all this stuff when Facebook does it for you? It's amazing how little we've cared for our privacy. And of course, an individual in a documentary requested information on Facebook. It was over 1,000 pages. That's in the documentary terms and conditions may apply. When using Facebook for 3 years, 1,000 pages. If your parents or spouse were forced to sit down and write everything they know about you, do you think they could come up with 1,000 pages? I don't think I could come up with 1,000 pages on anybody in my life, period. This company in 3 years has 1,000 pages of information just from utilizing things like Facebook out there. Companies like Google and Facebook are immune to Fourth Amendment laws, yet they are all known for working with government agencies. So this, again, not to convince you privacy matters. If you're one of those people who just don't believe it, don't care, then this isn't going to convince you. But for those who are starting to understand the importance of this, hopefully this gives you a good foundation for you to start having those conversations with other people. Privacy and security, setting up accounts or shopping online. So websites want to collect as much information as possible on you. Obviously, they want to do that generally just so that they can sell you more stuff. But when you look at the terms and conditions initially, when you're setting up an account, sometimes they'll say, yeah, we don't sell your information. We just keep it to make our services better. That's the big key that everybody likes to use, right? And people don't pay attention when an update comes to those terms and services, but those can change. One day a company says they don't sell your data. The next day they send a little email that most people ignore that, hey, by the way, we actually are going to start selling your data now to other companies. And this becomes a real big issue. This comes with not only shopping online, but just registering for accounts for anything, everything. Every company wants you to register for an account. Why do you think that is? Well, they want to start getting information on their customers. They want to know profiles on their customers. What age are the people signing up? Where do the people who are signing up generally live? That type of stuff. So what I like to tell people in this case is that you need to be as obscure as possible. You need to make up answers for these things. A lot of the sites you can get away with just utilizing made up names. I'm DOS Bob and my address is some made up address and my phone number is some random set of digits and they let you get by just fine. There's no reason for that company to have information. Now, if you're shopping online, obviously you need that package to get to the right location and you're going to have your actual information listed there. So the best thing that you can do there, use gift cards in place of storing credit cards, use a credit card with dynamic account numbers. So a lot of cards like the Apple card, for instance, you can change the account number at any time. There's no account number even printed, credit card number on the card itself. You can dynamically change it anytime you want. So this definitely keeps you more secure from people being able to hack and utilize that, whether you're in person or online. Setting up a PO box as your address for packages is a great option that I use myself, and use red herrings everywhere that you can, where stuff doesn't matter, where it's not something that validates whether you're the credit card holder. Birthdays, for instance, have a fake birthday for every site. I have a fake birthday I put in for every site that asks for my birthday. These companies do not need to know my actual age. It's very easy to use red herrings in every place possible. Another thing that gets a lot of people in trouble and is a real privacy issue is these security questions, right? What's your mother's maiden name? What's your best friend growing up? What high school did you go to? All of this information is not just used to secure your account, but is also used to build a profile on you. So use red herrings there. And you could use, of course, Bitwarden, who is a sponsor of the DOS Geek channel and the Destination Linux Network, to store your answers to these security questions out there. But for instance, be as obscure as possible in your answers. Who is your childhood friend? Griffin Seat Fries 21. £2, whatever you want, you can put there. There's nothing saying that's not your friend, right? There's nothing saying it actually has to be the name of your city that you actually grew up in. There's no rules there. You can put anything you want. And that way, when they're building a profile on you, they're like, this is complete gibberish. And that's exactly what you want to give them. Okay, so now let's talk about privacy and security when shopping at brick and mortar stores. Stop giving away all of your information. When you go to these places, it blows my mind. This is like the new stupid trend everywhere here. You go into a store and they're like, you pick up an item you want, you go to the register, you're ready to give them money for this item, which is where the relationship should end. But they're like, can I have your zip code, please? No. Can I have your cell phone number, please? No. Can I have your email address? No. Learn to say no. It's okay to say no. So many people are averse to saying no, but I can tell you in practice, utilizing this in every store that I've gone to, all I say is no, thank you, really nicely, because it's not that employee's fault, right? No, thank you. And then they just go, okay. And they either give you a weird look and continue, but they'll register everything up. They'll put it in the bag. They'll hand you the bag and the transaction's over. The relationship's over. I've not handed over my zip code, my phone number, none of this information that they can build profiles and info on me that I don't need them to know, because they're already getting my credit card number. If I use a credit card, they're getting my name. They're getting all that information right there in that one swipe. I don't need to give them more information to build additional profile on me. Another big thing is membership and discount cards. We have this grocery store in the United States called Kroger. It's got this discount card. I call it the regular price card. It's really not a discount. You put a bunch of stuff in you and you go there and you have to use this card to get it for what you would get it at places that don't have the stupid membership card requirement out there. But what I do, life hack, is I just go in there and I ask them for a new one every time. And I never fill out the form with the information on it. So I don't typically shop there because that practice annoys me so much. But if I do, I just ask them for it. And they don't want to hold up the line, so they give you the form and they give you the card. And you get the discount off the stupid groceries and things that you're buying there, and you just never fill out the information. You could usually use it a couple times. The frequent visitor terminals at restaurants and places like that, I get why companies want it. But again, I'm not giving my cell phone and personal information out. That's why you're getting all these spam calls, by the way, and crap. Big reason for it. People just give their numbers out everywhere, and you don't know what you're signing up for on that terminal. You're sitting there trying to get your food. You got a big line of people. You're not reading the terms and conditions of what they're going to do with your phone number when you sign up for that membership program. I like the old simple way where people would hand you a punch card and they would punch it each time, and you hand them a punch card and it's done. You don't have to get my personal information here. This is how it should be. So stop giving away your information at these stores. Additionally, you could use gift cards, use cash. Remember cash, that stuff you could carry around. There's really no paper trail or anything once you hand it over. There's no personal information, no credit card numbers, no names being stored. Cash is king here. But using gift cards is a popular life hack because a lot of these places like Kroger, again, will give you 5 times gas points. So you save on gas, even though the grocery store, those not in the US, it also has a gas station if you buy a gift card. So the restaurants you're going to go to, get gift cards for them that week. Use gift cards for your online purchases that you're going to buy at brick and mortar. This is just simple tips. Stop giving away your personal information to every place that you go to. Utilize cash. Gift cards are another option that you can use as well. Buy those with cash. Phones and apps. Avoid installing apps for social media or any service you don't absolutely need. There's a reason why, like Twitter is a great example. I only use Twitter in a web browser. Of course, a lot of people say you shouldn't use Twitter at all, and they're not wrong. I only use it in a web browser. And when I'm on my phone and I get on the web browser, the first thing is like, do you want to install the app? You'll have a much better experience. Why do you think these companies want you so badly to install their app? Because it's a better experience? No, because they can get much more information off of you when you install that app. Because if you look at the permission systems in these apps, which both iOS and Android both provide now, you can go and look at what the permissions that this app is going to request. You'll see that access to your camera, access to your Wi-Fi, access to your contacts information, access to just to install a simple shopping app or a simple social media app. It's all for getting more information. So stop installing apps. You can use them through a web browser if you have to use these services at all, and you're going to be just fine. You can visit these sites on a dedicated machine if you want to take it a step further with a VPN. But again, the web browser definitely be a key here. Vendors love to get your stuff to download these apps and things to really hook you into giving away your information, and they will constantly harass you in a browser about using it, but just stay away. Always read the permissions of the apps. A lot of people don't do this. They see a popular app their friends are downloading. They don't read the permissions that don't make sense. So again, with phones and apps, stop installing as many apps as you can. It's just like extensions in a web browser. People install so many extensions in the web browser. This is a really popular attack vector privacy issue out there. All these different extensions are now one of the key ways that people are gathering information on you. Apps are the same thing for your phone. Keep the minimum amount of apps possible that you need. Big violator here is video games and things as well as apps. Huge privacy issues that come up with those, and they give those games generally away for free. Travel, never connect to public Wi-Fi, whether phone or laptop, without a VPN in place. I use Proton VPN. That's my personal favorite. There are other good VPNs out there that you can check out. A lot of people like Pia and stuff like that, but a VPN is critical here. Tether your phone for internet or as a Wi-Fi hotspot. Avoid using websites that don't have HTTPS enabled. And fake hotspots are a thing. I've seen this in practice from a awesome hacker, Bo Weaver, that has been on the Destination Linux podcast. We were all at a local Linux user group, and he was able to demonstrate how he could easily spoof the Wi-Fi of a coffee shop. Everybody's connection dropped for a second. Everybody's connection came back up with the same name, coffee house. And we all thought things were fine, but he was proving a point that he could spoof everybody's Wi-Fi. If you're on a VPN, they see nothing that they spoofed your Wi-Fi, but a bunch of gibberish. If you're not on a VPN, they get to see all of your traffic. In general, it's a good rule. So VPN, but even better, use your phone as your hotspot instead of connecting to these public Wi-Fi because they're extremely dangerous. They're super easy to spoof. Hardening your laptop by encrypting the OS, superior practice for you to get in the habit of utilizing, especially if you're on Linux. It's really easy. It's one click to encrypt during install. If you're on Windows and things, it's a little bit more difficult to do because, Windows. Don't use cloud storage services without first encrypting your files or utilizing privacy-focused services like SpiderOak or MegaNZ. Basically, these unlimited Google Photos and Android or iOS cloud storage and things. This is where people are losing tons of their information. The whole celebrity gate situation that happened where all these celebrity photos and things that they didn't want released, all from cloud storage stuff. Cloud storage, very, very dangerous. Make sure if you're utilizing any of these services, at the very least, you're encrypting them using something that we'll talk about later. We're going to go through some of these options that you can use to encrypt those files before sending them up to the server. It's going to at least give you a lot more safety and privacy there for your files. But you could also use a service like SpiderOak or Mega.nz that are far more secure when it comes to file storage and focus more on the privacy aspects of cloud storage. But just know, either way, even using those, use your own encryption as well. Use a privacy screen when you're traveling to protect people from looking over your shoulders. So this is a big issue. People can easily do a social hack. When you're at airport or anything else, you're working on stuff, watch the passwords and stuff that you're utilizing, or even security cameras for that matter, are good enough that they can look at the screens, what you're looking at, and the passwords and things. And why do you want your laptop encrypted? Well, if somebody stole it and ran off with it, you have all of your private information there on that. But if it's encrypted, it's going to be near impossible for them. They're just going to throw it in the trash or put a new hard drive in it. But your data is safe, which is most important, and you won't have to worry about it. ISPs and cell phone carriers. This one's really disappointing. ISPs and US cell phone carriers specifically sell your personal data. You can turn off custom ad settings from your cell phone carrier and some ISPs through their websites. So whoever you're using as your cell phone carrier, if you go onto their websites, you search for about 25 minutes, you'll eventually find a setting that says, don't sell my data. And so make sure that you check those, because cell phone carriers, I think pretty much all of them at this point, it's all of them, are selling your data. So make sure you do that, because obviously your phone has so much data on it. Turn off features in your phone OS that allow tracking, location service, analytics. They call it improvements. Hey, help us improve the service by being able to better predict your texting, blah, 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 blah. Turn all that crap off, all of it. When you're doing Windows 10 install, if you're going to use Windows and not Linux, turn off all that privacy stuff at the very beginning, and then type in privacy and turn off all the other stuff that they didn't present to you during the install as well. Regularly audit settings with your carrier, your ISP, your phone, your OS, because a lot of these services, once you update, maybe you buy a new phone, you change your plan, or you install an update for Windows 10, these privacy things turn back on mysteriously on accident, so that all those things that you had set go away. So you've got to audit this. You got to make this a practice that you use day in and day out. Use a VPN on your cell phone and at home. Again, Proton VPN. I have it on my phone. I have it on my personal computers. VPN is a fantastic way to help keep your data safe. Consider options like PinePhone, or alternatively privacy-focused mobile operating systems, Ubuntu Touch, Manjaro ARM. They have a fantastic operating system out there if it will work for your usage needs. And I say that specifically because as somebody who works in corporate America, it's very difficult when you don't have certain apps that a company requires, and they only make those apps for, say, Android or iOS and those type of things, or banking and things that you need. Some of these services don't have all those apps available on these platforms yet. You may not be able to utilize them just yet, but they're getting better and better, these alternatives. And something, if you don't have that requirement or need, you just need basic text messaging, call making, web browser, these phones and these operating systems will work beautiful for you. Social media sites. I mean, really, the advice here is don't have any, but a lot of people make the valid argument, that's the only way I can keep in contact with my grandparents, the only way I can keep in contact with my friends. I would say delete as many centralized social media accounts as you possibly can. And for the ones that you have to keep it on complete lockdown, right? All the privacy information options that you have in the social media site, make sure that you check them, not to make your stuff public, to make everything private. Don't share pictures and things on there. Hackers use pictures, by the way, to phish and gain information about you. Those pictures contain secret gems to them. To you, it's just an innocent picture of your friend or a family member, or maybe a kid that is doing something funny. But to a hacker, it's much different. The clothes you had on, let's say it's a Georgia State sweater. Well, that gives me some information about maybe the teams you like, but maybe also where you live, where you went to college, certain tattoos that you may have that you're taking pictures of. Maybe give me information that I can start using to build a profile on you. So now we're talking about not just companies building profiles and using your information for nefarious purposes, or in a lot of cases, what companies are doing is collecting this information, leaving it out there on a big cloud storage, unsecured, and then some hacker downloads it and has all the information, but just hackers in general going through your social media profile to build information on you, to learn who you are, to potentially be able to easily guess passwords, to know where you live, to do other things. Facebook can learn more than enough from your friends on their service. So let's say you post no pictures of yourself. What about your friends? They post old school photos, classmates, and other things. Again, now I know that secret question of what school did you go to in elementary school, those security questions they like to ask and things that people put real answers in for some reason. Companies like Facebook have some of the best minds in the business who spend all day, every single day, trying to find out everything they can about you and new ways of getting information about you. They're better at finding info than you are hiding it. So it's much better to just not use these services at all. Photos on your phone and some cameras contain EXIF data, which contains info like exact longitude and latitude that can be used for nefarious purposes. Avoid using single sign-ons from Facebook or Google to access sites. They use this so they can track you across all these sites. So when you close that Facebook tab down and you open another tab and you're doing some maybe more secret type of browsing and things going on, Facebook's tracking every single place that you're going after that. It doesn't stop unless you use something like containerization, container tabs, and do some basic privacy practices we'll get into. So social media sites, my general attitude towards them is delete every single one you can. For the one you absolutely must have, do not post photos and things with information, potential information on them that give hackers attack vectors. There are tools designed to take phrases and posts you make. So some people say, I don't even post any pictures. Well, phrases and things that you use, this can be leveraged in targeting phishing campaigns. Somebody knows that you're particularly passionate about something, or you particularly love this type of ice cream, or that, you know, you're mad at Bank of America because they mistreated you. Well, now I know where you bank. Now I can kind of set up a fake Bank of America account, say, hey, we saw your post. We're really sorry. Just click here to access your account. And it's a fake phishing site. All these type of things happen. So you gotta be really careful the type of information that you're putting out there. LinkedIn and other professional sites, fantastic for helping people get jobs and careers out there, but it also has you upload your resume and all your personal information and your real name and your address and all this because you want those potential employers to get a hold of you. But this leaves a lot of people vulnerable. They're most vulnerable, in fact, because they need a job. So they're more susceptible to phishing attempts or people trying to get information from them that aren't actual companies. So be very careful in utilizing those, although that's a good example of, hey, you got to make a living. Privacy comes second when you have no job and income coming in. So I get using a service like LinkedIn, but just understand that people are going to try to take advantage of you when you're in your most vulnerable state. So be very leery of emails and contacts and people reaching out through you or clicking any links inside of an email. Instead, just open a browser, type in the website manually to your bank or wherever. If you're worried about an email that says, oh, your balance is now over, or whatever it is, just don't click the link in email, open a separate browser, go to your site like you normally would, and you'll be much, much more safe. Again, don't install unnecessary apps or extensions, your browser or phone. Kind of a second reminder there because I just couldn't help myself. An example, Snapchat. The privacy photo sharing app in 2014 had to pay fines to the FTC. Despite the way Snapchat advertised their app, it wasn't really deleting pictures from their database. Their privacy statement was stated that they didn't track you or get your location information, was also found to be false. If you can't see the code, you can't trust what you're being told. So this is very important. So a lot of these services, social media sites are like, oh, we're privacy focused. We're not like Facebook. But then you see stuff like this where, you know, you're supposed to be able to snap, send a picture, and then it deletes itself. But in this case, it was storing that stuff forever. This is obviously potentially used for advertisers and other things out there, but obviously hackers can get a hold of this information. So just because an app says that it's doing something doesn't mean it actually is. Or again, terms and conditions change, and now they can do whatever they want because you never read the updated terms and conditions because you were too busy trying to get to see what, you know, Susie posted about her favorite steak restaurant or whatever it is that people look at in social media. IoT devices. Be very leery of devices like Blink, Ring, Amazon Echo, Google Assistant, and any of these devices that talk about this stuff being built in. It's so annoying. So many companies have lost business from me because they make a fantastic set of headphones or they make a fantastic TV or something, but they have these stupid services built in that I want nothing to do with, so I won't buy their product. But this is a big thing, and it's all over the news, these devices getting hijacked, different people utilizing them to harass people or to make them hand over money because they're capturing footage from their cameras that they have in their home of things that they wouldn't want leaked out into the public. IoT devices can lack proper security standards, lack updates. A lot of these devices do not get updated on a regular basis. So they just get more and more insecure as time goes because they release a new version and they're not going to keep updating this stuff that you pay $35 for a camera to hang up on the side of the wall when usually these type of security systems cost hundreds of dollars. They're giving you one for $35. They're not going to be spending millions and millions of dollars doing updates and making sure it's the most secure thing on the planet. Trust me, it just doesn't happen. You see it all over the news. You don't even have to trust me. Many people forget to change the default passwords and settings, leaving them open to being hacked. So this is a big way. Even if you have these devices and they're from a company that's updating them, most people will leave the default username and password for the account that allows you to log in and administer these devices, which is a huge no-no. It's a huge no-no for your router. you've got to go in there and change your router's default admin password, admin and then admin or admin and 1234, whatever it was when it came to you. Go change that now if you haven't already. But also in the software for the security devices, these IoT devices, go change the default passwords. Hackers are like water. They're going to look for the place of least resistance to flow down. So if you've secured your stuff properly, they're probably going to go onto that other camera that's just open to everyone with the default passwords. Baby monitors, thermostats, light controls, all potential attack vectors to other devices in your home and network. Printers are a big one as well that allow them to get into one device and then get to all of your computers and start taking information or monitoring or installing malware or other things on there and hijacking your system. So a lot of this stuff, it's better to have internet-free versions of these items, even though those potentially, like if you have a remote baby monitor, that's using a radio frequency and things, sure, somebody could sit out in their car and it happens, but it's very less likely, right? And there's a lot more physical interaction that has to be done for somebody to intercept baby monitor footage at that point, where it's much easier just to go scour the online world and look for someone who leaves their cameras open and allows them to use that as an attack vector. So utilize internet-free security cameras. Go with more commercial solutions. Things like Synology Surveillance Station generally are good bets. You can use a multitude of different cameras with them. So you're going to have more time, because once a lot of these vendors have had products out there, they just decide they're no longer going to support it anymore. It goes away, like pretty much everything Google does, right? And it just eventually they just give up on it if it doesn't make $1 trillion overnight. And so you're stuck with this item that's no longer supported, that you spent money on, and you have no support for. Synology is a good option out there. Put your IoT devices on a guest network or secondary router is another great security step. So a lot of routers have guest network built in. So any of these IoT devices and things, to keep them from being able to get into those and then get to the rest of your network, keep them on a guest network, or get a secondary router that you hook up to your main internet connection that you utilize for any of these type of Internet of Things devices. Create your own solution, Raspberry Pi, like, security camera models, those type of things, baby monitors. You can do all of that with the Raspberry Pi, like a Ring doorbell. You can create your own with the Raspberry Pi. For those who don't know, it's a little $35 computer. You can use it as training for your kids and family and everything else. It's just an amazing little device. You can create your own things much more securely. So services to help you become a privacy guru. If you've made it this far, congratulations. Been a lot to go through in such a small amount of time, but use Proton Mail to Tutanota over services like Gmail or Yahoo, right? Gmail has been in the news for, well, I think they surprised most everybody who's not a privacy kind of security geek when they said, hey, we're going to stop reading all of your emails out there, but you have no idea what they're doing with your email, and it's really untrustworthy companies here. So use something like Proton Mail or Tutanota. Instead, they all have free account options, by the way. So you still get your free account, but you can pay for them, and you should pay for them eventually. In fact, you should be leery of any service that claims that it's free, because they're making money somehow. Always follow the money trail. That will teach you a lot about how these companies are making their money. If it's free, generally you're the product. The only exception to that is open source and things like that out there. So make sure you do your research on these companies. Do not use Google Chrome. Use something like Brave or Firefox. Personally, I prefer Firefox. Some people like Brave out there, but definitely stay away from pure Google Chrome. That's a lot of their data collection and personal information is captured through the Google Chrome browser, which now has become the standard for pretty much every browser out there, except Firefox is one of the big mainstream ones. There's a lot of different smaller browsers and things out there you can check out. Firefox is probably the best privacy-focused mainstream browser on the market. Firefox has something that is my favorite feature of all. I've talked about a couple times throughout this presentation, and that is container tabs that allow you to containerize certain services like Twitter or Facebook or other things. And this keeps them from being able to read what you're doing after you leave that site. So remember when I told you, you close that tab with Facebook and you think, okay, Facebook's no longer watching what I'm doing. Well, that's not true. It's got cookies and tracker, permanent cookies and things it's leaving in your browser that's tracking across those sites. But if you put it in a containerized tab in Firefox, then all that information stays in that one tab and it can't get out. It's trying to get out, can't get information, can't grab other stuff. So container tabs, not again, perfect privacy, but much better privacy. Perfect privacy would be delete your Facebook account. Second best, use it in a container at the very least, and you'll be much better off. Use Signal for utilizing secure encrypted phone calls. Another great tool for communicating with people is Element and Matrix, although a little more, just a tiny bit, I would say, more advanced to sign up for and set up than, say, a Telegram and other things. Element and Matrix, for all the security nerds out there, is kind of our go-to right now for securely being able to chat with friends and family members and things in a very awesome tool and platform. Use a secure VPN again, Proton VPN. Privacy-focused search engine. Don't forget about your search engine. Change it from Google default. I know Google makes it really easy. They're very, very tempting because they have fantastic search results. But I can tell you, in using DuckDuckGo for years now, it's just fantastic. So switch to DuckDuckGo privacy-focused. By the way, how do they make their money? Very simple. If I search for Kleenex, I'll get an ad for Kleenex, but that's where it ends. There's no tracking, gathering profile information, seeing what sites I go to next. It's just I typed in Kleenex, get a Kleenex ad. That's perfectly acceptable. They make money. I get to use their search engine for free. This is awesome, and you're not stealing my personal information. So again, follow the money trail on these. Use an ad blocker like Ghostery or Pi-hole. Ghostery is an extension you can add in. They also have their own browser now, by the way, which I've been trying out and have a video on if you want to check it out. Pi-hole is a fantastic thing that you can build on top of your Raspberry Pi to basically remove ads from your browsing and speed up your internet. By the way, use a good antivirus suite like Bitdefender and a password manager like Bitwarden. Bitwarden.com/DLN, $10 a year. You have a password manager. You can have a different password for every single site you use. You can have two-factor authentication built in here. You can even set up a YubiKey with it if you go with their $10 a year premium account. This is the password manager everybody loves. Before they ever became a sponsor, this is who we were recommending. A lot of people were like, no, LastPass. And now all of a sudden that went out the door when LastPass made their latest changes. Everybody's on the Bitwarden bandwagon now. Best password manager out there. Allow you to make ultra complex passwords, different for every single site. You can carry it with you on your phone. You can have it on your computers. You can have it as a standalone app. You can set up your own server if you want. You don't even have to host it on their own service. You can have your own server with Bitwarden. Just an awesome service out there. Go check it out. Bitwarden.com/DLN. Let them know that we sent you there. Bitwarden is amazing. Bitdefender is an antivirus program, by the way, that I recommend for those of you who are stuck in the Windows world. Encrypt your OS, which we talked about during install. Linux makes this easy. It's a little prompt during every install of every major distro. Or do you want to encrypt your drive? Yes. With Windows, try BitLocker, and of course, encrypt important files with tools like Veracrypt, Tomb, or TrueCrypt. You can choose the one that you like the most, but encrypt your files, especially if you're uploading them to cloud services. And be aware, services like WhatsApp claim encryption, but many are not truly end-to-end or considered suspect in their implementations. Again, if you can't read the code, you don't know what's inside of it. So there are a lot of services that claim that they encrypt and protect your messages, but actually are basically security holes or privacy gathering black holes. So what to do if you're just learning about privacy? What if you've set up every account possible known to mankind out there online, social media, because maybe you were young, you didn't know any better. Even the most experienced privacy experts make and continue to make mistakes with their private information. So go through your established accounts that you've signed up for and start changing your personal information to random names. Again, do the red herring thing. So if you've set up all these sites and you're basically a privacy open book to the world, go to all these individual sites and start faking all the information. Change the addresses, change the names, change the birthdays, just confuse the heck out of these systems. Then after that, delete any social media accounts you can't live without. Now notice I said change all the information, then delete the account. That way they're storing all this information for life and definitely not getting rid of it. At least they're storing all the wrong information out there before you delete it. Take photos off mass storage sites, especially free ones like Google Photos, Facebook, etc. Confuse the data collection algorithms. One way is to create a website. I actually did this with your exact name and post a fake address, fake bio info, fake facts so that the sites start picking up through their algorithms info about you. And in about a year's time, 6 months to a year of hosting this site, you'll notice that all of these sites that actually, if you type in your real name, give your actual address and information out there. Why this is legal, I have no idea, but it's like a phone book for anybody. You just type in someone's name. And then they even have sites that like socially rank you based on if you've ever, been to court and all this stuff is just publicly out there. It amazes me. But anyways, you'll notice those sites start picking picking up all this fake info. They have fake info on the cars I drove. They have fake info on my address. They have fake info everywhere. And so utilizing that website was a big weapon that I used. Many companies offer an account deletion option. This does not mean they're removing the data. That's why it's better to confuse them with the fake data. So again, there's no problem with starting now about your privacy. You could have made a ton of mistakes in the past, but now you can stop and take control of that. And over the years, they'll start to lose real valuable information on you, and it will start confusing them. That's it. That's the end of the presentation. You made it through this far. Hopefully this gives you a great foundation, the tips and tricks I personally use in my life to keep me as private as possible. Nothing is 100% foolproof though, but you should take these steps to help you take back control of this very, very important thing that we've lost over the years. Thank you so much for subscribing, for watching to this channel. Special thanks to my beautiful patrons out there for continuing to support this channel out there. Also head to DigitalOcean, who's another sponsor of this channel and Destination Linux Network, do.co/DLN, and get a $100 credit to set up cloud services. So if you want to set up your own Nextcloud where you can store your own files and things more safely and privately and securely, you can all do that on DigitalOcean. You're going to get a $100 free credit to play around with, startup servers. It's super easy. They have 1,000 cloud agnostic tutorials, all that stuff out there. So Bitwarden, go there. DigitalOcean, go there. And most importantly, make sure that you continue this journey of learning about privacy and implementing new privacy practices. And the new things that you learn and things you think I should have covered, leave in the comments below, and continue to fill your brains.